Alright, so today we're going to talk about what the definition of a fringe deck is. There was recently a video wherein, uh, one of the popular YouTubers on CEDH went through and ranked the top 50 decks. And if you go to the tail end of this video, you can see in 51st place, covered by, technically much better cards, Aranis Gloomstalker Street Urchin. Now this deck is probably the definition of fringe. It is just outside of the quote-unquote most rankable decks. You're going for the full top 50. Now, of course, Top Deck GG, we could have a lot to say about their sorting algorithm and how they're gauging that, how they're measuring that. But the reality of this deck is that what we're putting up with this are some phenomenal numbers. The performance of this deck is 33%. So I believe that number is a calculation of wins and draws divided by games. I believe you divide the draw value by 5 and then add that to the win value and then divide that by total games. But I could be incorrect about that. Regardless, I guess noteworthy, if you compare this to the rest of the fringe that made it onto the top 50, 15%, 28%, 20%, 30%. And if you look at top X's, these are top 16s realistically, we've got 6 with Aranis on 18 entries, compared to Tameshi with 6 on 30, compared to 6 with Narset on 21. We're putting up actual numbers, and the performance of this deck pre-ban was exceptional. Now, post-ban, there have been some changes with the deck and how it's structured and the way it's arranged, and what we're presenting with this list now is a more turbo line, rather a more turbo deck style. A couple of the stacks pieces have been left on the cutting room floor, and a couple honestly more powerful combos have been put together on the back of some of the most incredible collaboration I have ever seen a community put together. We sat down as a group and sit back here. I just dropped an anchor link to the top of this. Put together a list of, and honestly, huge props to Kirk for honestly leading this collaboration. Like any leader of a fringe deck Discord ought to. The organization at the top here was exceptional. We have our cards and combo discussion post section, and then within that we've got individual links to all of the individual potential new combo lines for us to consider. Fuller Hermit Druid pile, an Agatha Soul Cauldron pile, Basking Brood-Scale and Torch Courier with the Blade of the Bloodchief. And what ended up making it was a couple of lines that circle around Hermit Druid. Now, I'm going to show this placed video of the most straightforward line that's in the deck. And I'm going to talk over this with a little bit of what makes this deck powerful and what makes this deck work. Because there are a lot of factors that make it honestly kind of obscenely powerful in a way that like most other decks can't really interact with. At the top layer, this deck has draw in the command zone. Well, it's not draw explicitly, it's card advantage. And that card advantage is the oft overlooked card type of land, especially in the format of CEDH. Hitting your land drops consistently is incredibly powerful, and people kind of just neglect it for fast mana, and that's fine and reasonable. Now, okay, admittedly, I'm framing this up like it's a totally fair match. Our Rogsai player did mulligan to 5, but we've got 2 Yuriko decks at 7, and, everybody's saying Yuriko's really well positioned right now. That all being said, we saw an Ancient Tomb into Mox Diamond discarding Misty Rainforest here for turn 1 Aranis, and we're going to see this develop literally on the back of playing a land every turn, getting a land back every turn. This plays out to be a turn 3 win because the framework that this deck works within is you're playing Turbo Hulk and you're doing it as fast as you can, or you're developing a dominant and compelling like board control state. So when I pass the turn here, we've got Aranus and Street Urchin in play, and we've got 2 mana available. So if I feel threatened by Yuriko 1 or Yuriko 2, I have the ability to sack my Llanowar and my Mox Diamond to kill 2 creatures. That bins a total of 4 mana for me, and I don't want to do that. And I don't opt to do that here because for some reason they take this kind of weird line where they cheat a Changeling Outcast into play, which I don't totally agree with. And then Reality Smasher actually does something similar where they ninjutsu and then just play this Eye Collector again. Categorically, like, objectively incorrect to have... Oh, no, I could have blocked it. That's fair. I was going to say objectively incorrect to not try to Skull Snatch my Misty Rainforest out of the graveyard, but they didn't. No, that has flying. Yeah, they should have done that. But I guess they probably just see that I would have killed it. So, anyway, presenting a really powerful control state over the board, over creatures. This ends up usually playing really well against, obviously, the obvious contenders of, oh my god, I get fucked by removal. So like Sisay tends to struggle against it. A lot of like any fringe creature centric deck definitely struggles against it. Like this is an off meta killer in a lot of ways. But in the top, it deals with Sisay really well. It does deal with Tymna really well. It kind of takes that card advantage path away. It dealt with Nadu really well. Deals with Magda really well. Can interact nicely with Inala, and ultimately doing that while also being able to play stacks pieces like Trinisphere is extremely powerful. But look at this. Turn 3, of course, yes, it's seat 1. I'm untapped with 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 mana. 8 mana available means I can Pact for Dosin, play Dosin, have 5 mana up, cast Natural Order, put Protean Hulk into play, sack Protean Hulk, and go for a Dosin-protected Hulk line. So I just go with the most fundamental, simple, easy win version, where there's like no brain, no thought, and that's Recruiter, Snoop, Torch Courier, and Skirk Prospector. And once this Dosin's in play, and I do feed Heuristic Study twice here, so I'm opening the door to get got. But once this Dosin's in play, like it's just freeform. I could lose to a nothing. I could lose to nothing here. Yeah. Oh, and of course Dryad Arbor. Dryad Arbor comes in with the pile. But the point that I'm trying to make here is that this is turbo. This is dominant turbo with the ability to conveniently flex out to board control or to really meaningful stacks. And the really meaningful stacks that we get to play in this deck are Trinisphere, which we can sacrifice with Street Urchin's ability, Vexing Bauble, Collector Oof, and really any artifact stacks piece. But what we've seen post-ban is that trimming those pieces for this more turbo aspect, mulliganing into a more turbo aspect, has been an incredibly effective strategy for like dominating games. Now, Miko's funny because it doesn't always actually translate to a win. You can see here that I have to click a dozen times, and genuinely, if one of these players held out, yes, I could zonk their board down, but overall, the client is pretty good for early game and mid game testing. But yeah, like genuinely, this this deck can really fly. And this is card advantage. This is material card advantage. Sure, it's ramp, but like it just works. And the ability to, like, I guess this Yuriko player made that decision to not attack me because they just didn't want to lose their creature. People have to make that decision. And the Death Touch on Aranis and then Street Urchin gives it to her. Like, this turns her into 1-mana removal spells. Being able to translate a Snoop line with ease into direct face damage. We do play Mog Fanatic now, but being able to translate this into direct face damage, it's really powerful. I'm gonna just stop saying that because I know I've probably said it like 4 times. But this deck's a blast. I've been playing it for like a year and a half. One of my opponents in this game was like, "Yeah, I'm taking apart my Atali deck because I want to play something like, what did he say? Yeah, I was about to take apart Atali so I could get some GRUUL cards. And so I've got some GRUUL cards that need a good home. And I'm like, yeah, dude, this is 100% the home. This is honestly the most viable GRUUL has been. Probably ever in Commander, ever in CEDH, that is. The performance of Minxkambu decks, the performance of Atali decks have been super spotty. I don't know why they broke EDH top 16. I guess I just like can't look at it in the old way. But those decks would generally put up like 20-25% performance, like at their ceiling. Actually, we can go look at MTG admin. I think that's a time-stamped data set too. Okay. There's a dash there. So we want his commander rankings. Let's sort by popularity. So yeah, Atali, pretty low top 4 rate. This is that performance number, so I believe that's the divide by 5. Oh, there's a note on this actually. A draw is worth 20% of a win. Okay, cool. So yeah, a draw is essentially 1 point in the calculation. So Atali hits a 24. And let's see what else we got. Is there not a color slicer here? Color identity, there we go. It's Power BI, so you have to hold control and then click. Multiple selections, huh? Yeah, 14% on 20 tournaments. People tell me to play this deck, but it's instant speed wins that Aranis gets. And then in here, this should probably be that 33 as well. Yep, there we go. And you can see that this is missing some of the tournaments that screenshot I was showing off earlier have. So these data sets are kind of tricky to update now that the API is like limited to 200 requests at a time. I don't know if Kirk is going to fix this back up, but I'd at least like to see EDH top 16 fixed at the very least. Regardless, powerful deck. If you search for Aranis, Street Urchin, Ruin Hulk, or just Aranis Ruin Hulk, it'll come up there. And you can see the list as we've currently got it. I genuinely think this deck is the truth. Play it. It's too fun. It's too complex. It'll beat you half the time, but it's just a good game. It's just a lot of fun.